nothing lasts forever in our market is what we need to remember. Right now, it's very fast. You get a listing that's decent, you price it, you're going to get some multiple offers, but we're heading into the great unknown. We've got an election coming up that may or may not affect our business more than ever, but I'm guessing that it's going to affect our business more than any other election in a long, long time. Then we've got what could be a normal holiday season, so we've got some slowness. And then we have what lots of people are predicting is an increase in our inventory due to forbearance, distressed properties, all of those things. So I think Brian's topics today are very relevant for the immediate future and certainly for the long term in our career. So, I would love for everybody to start focusing on just getting listings. That is right now, that's instant income, but we know what it is also for our business long term. I mean, the cool part about the market balancing is that if we can get a listing on the market for a while, we can get some leads from it. And that's really the challenge right now. You list something and you don't get any leads. So, Brian, I don't know if that's the perfect segue into talking about what you want to talk about, but I do think that we're in this for the long run.
Yeah, and I think I'm very, very proud of the people that are raising their game, participating, and despite it being good times and having it been a good year for real estate, we're trying to get better. We're trying to improve our skills. So I'm really, really encouraged about that. It'll, as my son always says, or his coaches always say, hard work pays off. So we're going to talk about what specifically hard work looks like. We can do a lot of things and not have any progress. So it's doing the right things in the right order. On the last call, we talked about pricing the listing. On the previous call, we talked about the listing framework. Next call, I'm going to get into specific dialogues about the listing and go through that in a little bit greater detail. But today, I thought that I would share with you, let me share my screen. And I certainly don't have all the answers, but I've been fortunate to have great balance in my life, good income. I'm very, very blessed. And no matter what's going on in the world, I think that it's important to realize how fortunate we are and how much better we have it than other people. But that's not by accident. It's purposeful. It's intentional. So what I wanted to talk about today, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so I wanted to show you what I do right around this time of year. So you saw yesterday, you see goal setting 2021. I had a couple of other appointments, but I dedicated my day yesterday to start thinking about the future. And I do this every fall, right around the first week of October, because most people, when they set their goals, wait till December. Holy shit, it's New Year's. Let's make some resolutions. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to get in better health. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to pay down debt. We've all been there, right? And then we check in, typically, as a society, a year later on December 31st and go, how'd I do? And where we didn't hit our goals. So I have found over the last 25 years of doing this exercise, and I'll give credit to Dr. Marjorie Blanchard, who taught me that there's a right way to set goals and a wrong way to set goals. How many of you believe that there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things? And how many of us have never been coached on the proper way to set goals? So I want to spend maybe the first part of the call sharing some strategies that I think will, if implemented, I know they will change your life. So let me tell you a quick little background story here. Years ago, I was invited to go to a seminar at the Heinz Auditorium in Boston, a big convention center. This is about 30 years ago. The Heinz had just been built, and they did all kinds of business and corporate events. And there was a success bureau. It was called the Success Bureau. And every 6 to 8 weeks, they would bring in a keynote speaker. So for a stipend of about $1,000, 30 years ago, a lot of money, you could come every 8 weeks and listen to these great speakers. So I thought it was fantastic. I had the opportunity to hear Stephen Covey, Floyd Wickman, Zig Ziglar, some of the notables, right? Brian Tracy, Mike Ditka, Pat Riley, many famous athletes, authors, Joe Theismann. And I asked the gentleman who ran the bureau, how do these speakers get from the airport to the convention center? And he said, I don't know. We just pay them a lot of money and they get here. So I said, well, what if I pick them up? You know, I'll be an extension of you. It'll be an added service for you. And he said, I'm not going to pay you, but if you want to do that, we'll arrange it. You can talk with Jody, my admin, and we'll get it set up. So long story short, I got to pick up these people. And in addition to all the great nuggets I got in the seminar, I got incredible one-on-one time with some of the world's most elite, successful athletes, speakers, and authors. And Mike Ditka was one of my most famous ones, the coach of the Chicago Bears, great human being. And this was just, you know, for a young man, this was a dream. This was a dream to be in this environment. And then one day, gang, I get the assignment to pick up Marjorie Blanchard. Does anyone know who Marjorie Blanchard is? John might, from previous seminars. I didn't know who she was either. So I wasn't very excited to pick her up. She wasn't famous. She wasn't notable, or at least in my world. And to make matters worse, her topic was goal setting. And I'm like, 23 years old. What do I need to learn about goal setting? I know all there is. I'm ambitious. I'm driven. I set goals. I know that what you think about, you bring about. What you focus on expands. I know this shit. And my arrogance and ego, you know, got in the way, but I took the good with the bad. And I said, you know, as much as I wanted to bail on picking her up in that assignment, I picked her up. And we're chatting on the way to the convention center. And she goes, oh my God, you know, the opportunity, you have the world ahead of you. You're only 23 years old. Wow. I'm going to do my workshop just for you, Brian. And I'm like rolling my eyes going, great. And she's about 4'6" and she's got blue hair. And, you know, I don't know. At the time, I thought she was about 120 years old. And she looked like Aunt Bee from the Andy Griffith show. So she says, we're doing goal setting. Do you set goals? I go, yeah, I set goals. She goes, well, this is going to blow your mind. I go, okay. Because we don't know what we don't know. How many of you, you know, and I use the example of lobster. People would ask me, hey, you want lobster? I worked at the Copley Plaza Hotel in Boston, and the chefs would go, Brian, you want a lobster? This lobster is going to go to waste. And I go, no, I don't like fish. No, I don't like fish. And for years, I'd say, no, 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 thank you, no, no, no. And I'd get something else. And then one day I had a date with a young woman, and she took me to a clam bake, and all they had were lobsters. And I wanted to impress her, so she said, here, try that. I go, I don't know. She goes, try it. And I had lobster. And holy shit, it's my favorite food, bar none. All those years I had missed lobster. So the analogy is, I thought I knew all about goal setting, but I didn't have a clue. And what Marjorie shared with me, so she did her seminar, and I took notes, and I'm driving her back to the airport, and she said, I put this workbook together for everybody, and what I'd like you to do, Brian, is I'd like you to commit to me that you're going to do this workbook. Can everybody see this? Can you guys see my screen?
That's it.
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Not yet. Let's do, okay, glad I asked. There we go. Okay, so she gave me this workbook, and she said, will you do it? And it was thick, and I'm like, oh, this is a lot of work. How many of us don't get really excited about certain tasks, certain activities? But we know that if we do them, it could alter the direction, the trajectory of our life. So, Marjorie was a sweet lady, and I said, yep, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Now, I'm sharing this story with you for a reason, because I really want to encourage you all to carve out a day to do this exercise. It'll change your life, mark my words. But here's what happened. I take the workbook and I put it on my desk, and I have great intentions. And I'm not managing my schedule like I do today, and it doesn't get in the schedule. And if it isn't scheduled, it rarely gets done. So my intentions are good, and I'll do it when I have time. How many of us will do it when we have time? I'll make my calls when I have time. I'll work on business strategies when I have time. I'll prospect when I have time. And we're busy being busy, but we're not moving and advancing our business and our life and our career and our relationships further. So my intentions are good. Weeks go by. It goes from my desk to the floor. Weeks go by. It goes from the floor to the top of my cubicle. Now it's out of sight, out of mind. Months have transpired, and I get a phone call from Dr. Blanchard. And she says, Brian, how you doing? And I go, oh my God, are you in Boston? Like, do you need a ride? I'm your guy. How can I help you? And she goes, no. It's been several months since I've seen you, and I just know how powerful this exercise is. A, I want to know what distinctions you've had. And B, I want to know what you've experienced, because it happens fast. And I go, huh. And I had this pit in my stomach. Here's this woman who cares enough to think enough to call me and hold me accountable and say, did you do it? And I had to tell her the truth. And I could hear this dejected voice on the other end of the phone. And I knew I had let her down. But I didn't let her down. I let me down. I canceled the rest of what I had going on that afternoon, which was a bunch of busy shit, right? Inputting listings, returning phone calls. I just wiped it out, grabbed my workbook, and went to the park. And actually, I could, without dragging this on, let me show you the results, because I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. So this is my goal setting folder for the last 25 years. I do it every year. And I can look today back 25 years and think about what was going on in my brain back then and how has it played itself out. So here's what I want to tell you. I want to tell you the end result. The life that I have today is 100% correlated to the thoughts, the dreams, the aspirations, and the hopes that I wrote down years ago. It's incredible. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. So I'm going to send this workbook to you. It's in your resource library, but I'm going to get it to you today. I'm going to ask everybody, that's your first homework assignment, find a day where you don't have anything scheduled, go to a happy place before it gets freezing cold, whether it's the ocean, a lake, a mountain, a Starbucks, wherever your place is. Uninterrupted, shut your phone off, turn your emails off, don't bring your computer, print this out, and just go on a dreaming expedition in the 5 equities of your life. So here's what she said. She said, if you want to accelerate your results in your life, you have to first think about it. Nothing exists in life without first originating in the mind space. The shirt I'm wearing was some designer's idea. The watch, the computer, the flag behind Bryn, the technology today, electric cars, was somebody's idea. So she said, we get so busy doing it, that we rarely have time to think. And if we don't think, we just wind up where we wind up. Said differently, any bus will get you there if you don't know where you're going, right? You hop on a bus. Hey, where are we going? Oh, we're going to Mobile, Alabama. Oh shit, I don't want to go to Mobile. Get off the bus. But you got to think about where you want to go. Now, here's the magic sauce in setting goals. She said that we don't start with 2021 goals. Don't start here. We're going to start from the center and work our way out, because there's no pressure 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now. Now, when you do this, I'm going to ask everybody to write this down. These are your instructions. We're going to start from the center. Your primary aim is your purpose. Why are you on this planet? I'm going to suggest that when we check out, when there's a funeral or a memorial celebrating our life, the life that we lived, I promise you that I don't want to be remembered as a guy who sold a lot of homes. That's not why I'm on this planet. So think about your purpose. What is your purpose? My purpose, feel free to copy it if it resonates with you. It's a good start. But I bet you there's people listening today that don't know what their purpose is. Go ask people. Go do a exercise. Go, hey, what's your purpose in life? They'll look at you like you have three heads. Like, what are you talking about? What's my purpose in life? I got to provide for my family. Is that really it? Is there something more? Is there something more meaningful? What is it for you? So for me, it's to make a positive impact in the lives of the people that I come in contact with. I don't know. I thought about it 25 years ago, and that's what flowed through me, and it still exists today. That's how I want to be remembered. And if you don't know what your purpose is, ask yourself this question: how do you want to be remembered? And that will solicit your purpose in life. So it's a little spiritual, it's a little high level, but it's not an activity. It's not a career. Then we're going to set goals. We're going to look at 30 years from now, and we're going to make a bucket list. If we have the rest of our life ahead of us, however many years it is, it could be more than 30, it could be less. What is it that we want to do with our life? What is it we want to experience? Who do we want to meet? What accomplishments, achievements do we wish to do? What about the impact to our family and the other people? So we're going to ask questions, and there's going to be 5 equities of life. There's going to be health. Okay, so what are your health goals 30 years from now? So 30 years from now, I'm going to be 84. When I did this exercise yesterday, I go, how do I want to be at 84? Do I want to be on a ventilator with an oxygen tank? How many of you have ever seen the guy or the gal pushing the little oxygen tank? I don't want that to be me. So how active do I want to be at 84? Well, I'd like to be able to get around and be mobile. So I'd like to be active in doing exercise. I'd like to be able to go for a walk around my neighborhood for 2 or 3 miles without being winded. I'd like to hike a mountain. So you decide. So health is 1, finance is 2, not necessarily in this order, doesn't matter. There's 5 equities. They're all equally important. Just as your lungs are important for you to be alive, your heart's important, your brain's important. You take away your liver or any vital organs, you're dead. These 5 equities of life are your vital organs. So we've got health, we've got finance. 30 years from now, how much money do you want in the bank? How much wealth do you want to create? Do you wish to have any investments? What does that look like? So write it out, write it out. Career, what are you going to be doing 30 years from now? You know, I had a conversation with Janet the other day. I'd really like to be, I was having all these random stupid thoughts that have nothing to do with money about career. But like, I'd like to be a tour guide in Boston, or work at a stadium and watch the games for free and meet people that are like-minded and fans. Where did that come from? I have no idea. But in order for me to do that, I have to create a lot of wealth, because that's not going to pay the bills, right? So whatever it is for you, just capture it. There's no right or wrong when you do this. So health, finance, career, what are you going to be doing? Who are you going to be doing it with? Okay, personal, and personal includes self and relationships. Okay, are you still going to be in the same relationship that you're in? Now, sometimes this is a real reality check. Geez, 30 years. Well, thankfully for me, I see that happening. I want to be in the same relationship. I can only pray that when Janet does this exercise, she's feeling the same way, right? You guys tracking me? But what about your kids? So my kids, 30 years from now, my son is going to be 48 and 43. What does life look like? Do I have grandkids in the picture? What will I be doing? How many days a week will I be spending? What magical moments will I be creating? And then the last equity of life is spiritually, philanthropically. What contributions do you want to make? And we're going to do this for 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years. And then we're going to get to the 1 to 2 years. And we're going to be able to chunk it all down. Now, last year when I did this, I started with my primary aim. I created a bucket list. And by the way, you've got these notes here to help you. So this is my bucket list, and you don't have to limit yourself to 25. Come up with, like, I've got crazy ones just to kind of stimulate you and get you started. I want to hold a tiger cub. I've never done that. So it's not necessarily, I want to own a high-rise apartment building in Boston. Whatever flows through you when you're doing this, let it flow. I want to go on an African safari. I want to see the world. Last year I wrote, I want to take my family on before my kids get older and go off and get married and have their own families. I want to do a vacation to Hawaii. My son blew his knee out last year. I wanted to go to the college football national championship. I wrote that down. I want to see the curvature of the earth from outer space. By the way, how, so here's your rules. How doesn't matter. Decisions come first. We'll figure out the how later. So money, circumstances, obstacles, conditions, limitations, does not matter. If you can dream it, write it down. And I challenge you to stretch yourself. Like, look, there's things that I've written down and I go, holy shit. One of them is be in a movie. So I wrote down, I'd love to be in a movie. Well, how the hell am I going to do that? I have no idea. I don't know anybody in Hollywood. I have no acting skills whatsoever, but I wrote it down. So it's fun, gang. It's fun. And what I'll tell you in my experience is when you do this, it'll be like you just got supercharged on vitamins. You'll attack the day like you haven't attacked the day in a while. So I look forward to doing this. I'm fired up today. Maybe you can feel my energy. I hope you can. So do this, and then don't just put it away. Keep it with you. When you're in a waiting room, look at it, add to it. It's a working document. And some of the things that I wrote down 20 years ago, I have not accomplished. And I no longer wish to accomplish. We grow, we evolve, we change. But let me tell you, I did this last year. In January, I took Hayden to the national championship, LSU versus Clemson. I wrote this down in October 15th of last year, 2019. I wrote it down. Like, that would be really cool for me to go with my son, who's a football freak. And then I'm thinking about it. And so you write it down, you start thinking about it, and the little voices click in. Well, he's going to college. He's playing football. You're not going to see him. So I look online. I didn't even know where the championship was. It was New Orleans. I didn't know what tickets would cost. And before you know it, we're down there. And has anybody seen, I'll send it in the, along with this document. We met Joe Burrow, the Heisman Trophy winner, and an MVP from the game. And my son got a selfie with Joe Burrow. Like, what a magical experience. It would have never happened had I not sat down. And we will remember that for the rest of our life. How many of you agree? We'll remember that for the rest of our life.
Absolutely.
And that's what this exercise is about. And that's why I wanted to spend the first half of today sharing it with you, sharing this gift with you, because if you'll do it, I promise you, it'll have a profound impact on your life. In February, we found ourselves in Hawaii. I booked it. So that was their Christmas present. It was written down in October. I didn't expect that these things would happen that fast. But deals start to come together. Income goes up. You apply the same principles and effort into your career and your work, and now you're able to do it great. So after you do the bucket list, you're going to start with 30 years. I'm going to have you write down the date, your age today, and then 30 years from today will be 2050. It'll be 2050. Wow. What will the world be like in 2050? How old will you be 30 years from now? And if you were the writer, the director, the author, and the creator of your life, which you are, what would your life look like? If you could write the story, which is what I'm asking you to do, write the story. Who are you spending time with? What are you doing for income? Where are you traveling to? Where are you living? Are you still living in the same home that you're living in? I'm not. By the way, I'm really looking forward to downsizing. My theme, less is more. I've been through the phase of, more. So any comments or questions on this? Will you all do it?
I did it, and I'm very embarrassed to say it did go sit on my desk. So I want to go redo it, because I sat in bed one night and did it. And believe it or not, it's insane to think about 30 years now. And I think I did this, gosh, did we start pre-COVID or no? I can't remember. But to think about what the world's going to be 30 years, we're all going to be wearing masks.
Let's hope not, Brent.
God.
So I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send that to everybody. Thanks for your honesty, Bryn. So Bryn was like Brian, and hey, I started it, but I didn't do it. The secret is, let's take 5 seconds right now. Go into your calendar. Everybody open up your calendar. Find a 4-hour window where you can put goal setting in there. Doesn't have to be today, tomorrow. It can be next week. It could be the week after. But let's get a jump start on it, and here's why. Everybody else has 12 months in a year to hit their goals, to hit their targets. We have 15. Are we likely to advance, to go farther, to have a better quality of life if we start thinking about our future 15 months into the new year? Okay, any other comments or questions? Anybody having any voices in your head going, wow, that was a waste of 30 minutes of my life this morning? Like I did, admittedly, when Dr. Blanchard was telling me how important it was to listen to her and set goals. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's okay if you're feeling that. But I'm promising you, if you'll trust me, great things will happen. And it can be career-wise. It could be relationship-wise.
Brian, what's the best way to check on this? How often, so that we don't end up just putting it somewhere and not going back?
Great question. So there's a concept, I may have shared it with you before. It's called inevitability thinking. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Have I ever shared that term with you? Inevitability thinking?
Not.
All right, so jot that down. Inevitability thinking is creating the environment and the circumstances where it's nearly impossible to fail. Okay, we create the environment or the circumstances where it's nearly impossible to fail. So let me give you an example. My son who wants to play college football. It's not easy to play college football, especially when you're a quarterback and you're 5'7". It's very, very challenging. So he's creating an environment and circumstances where he can't fail. He does film, he puts it in his calendar. It's like, what are all the things he needs to do to succeed? And then he schedules it. He puts reminders up. So we're building a life by design, an intentional, purposeful one. So here's what I would suggest, John. Go to Staples and get this paper manual that you're going to print out bound. Do it in color paper. Mine is in a binder. I don't know if I have the other one's downstairs, but so I have them bound with a spiral and a plastic sheet, and I bring it with me wherever I go. Wherever I go, it's there. I can't lose sight of it. How many of you bring your cell phone everywhere you go? I bring my cell phone and my goal book, my goal workbook. And if I have any downtime, I'm looking at it throughout the year, because thoughts become things. And some of the things that were important to me a year ago are no longer important to me. And they change. And then I'm like, holy shit, that would be really cool. So let me write that down. So there's a lot of things that I've experienced. It's not about material possessions and wealth, although that's a component of it. It's really about experiences. And you can have, do, and be anything that you set your mind to do. How many of you have worked so hard or been so busy that life, you find a year, 6 months passes you by and you haven't taken a day or a week or a vacation? That should not happen. That's the world controlling you. That's you getting on a bus and letting the bus drive you to your destination. So this will tie in. This is step one. And then here's a bonus little piece for best practices, John. Take your calendar for 2021 and schedule time so that it pops up on your calendar to look at your areas of finance, to look for investment properties. Start small. You start putting money away into SEPs, Roths. Make sure that your family is adequately protected with life, health, disability insurances. Make sure that you're putting a percentage of each dollar that you earn away for taxes. There's nothing worse. How many of you can relate when April 15th rolls around and your CPA says, holy shit, you owe this much money? And you're like, well, I don't have that money. So I take 10% of my gross, which ends up translating to a percentage of my net so that I have the money for taxes. So if you look at what you paid, what your gross income was last year and what your tax liability was, that'll be a percentage. So in 2021 and going forward, build good habits. So comments, questions. I want to move on to price reductions, but we're good for time. So, and this is really important. This is life altering. So if anybody has any thoughts, questions, limiting beliefs, let me know.
Yeah, I do. I want to comment on that. So you saw that I was glancing down. Here's what I was doing. I was putting something in my phone. So I just put in here the first of every month, repeating every month to review my goals. So I'll see if that's often enough. But in our world, we tend to have the end of the month busy time. Oh, it's a new month. It's a new beginning. That's why I chose the first of every month.
That's great. Great. Now, here, let me give you another one too. And I don't know who to give credit to. I don't know where I learned this. I've read lots of books, heard lots of great people, and forgive me for not giving credit. It's not my idea. Very few things, there's a few, but very few are my ideas. I find successful people and I model successful people. And one of these mentors or people that I looked up to talked about magical moments, right? When you're 90 years old, looking back on your life, sitting on your rocking chair in the nursing home or on your front porch or however you envision your life to be, and you're looking back, you're not going to go, man, I wish I sold more homes. I wish I made more money. Make sure that in your goal planning, you create magical moments. So what I do is quarterly, I've identified the people that mean the most to me. Okay, the people that mean the most to me, my wife, my kids, my mother, my mother-in-law, my niece, my nephew. And quarterly, every quarter, I put 4 times a year, and so I'm not doing all the people that matter to me at the same time. It would be overwhelming. But 4 times a year, Janet shows up in my computer. Hayden shows up in my computer. Hayden, magical moment, reminder. Peyton, Zach, Cora, Eileen, my mom. And when they pop up, it reminds me 4 times a year to carve out time with them and do something special, to create some magic with them, to do something, to have an experience that we will remember. The goal is for the rest of our lives, so that when I'm 90, I can look back and be flooded with all these great experiences. I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but I'd love for you all to do that. That's inevitability thinking. Now, I've been doing this for the last 20 years. So take 6 people times 4. That's 24 times 10 or 20 years. It's 240 magical moments. How many think that I could recite some stories, some experiences with you about me and Hayden or me and Peyton, about my mom and dad? And it doesn't have to be expensive. My dad would pop up in my calendar, be like magical moment with dad. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with dad? Oh, you know what? We're going to go to Parker's Maple Barn. It's out in the country. It's a breakfast place. And we're going to have breakfast. That's going to be my magical moment for this one experience. And it was quality time with me and my dad, who grew up in the Depression, fought in the Second World War, and I just got to chew the fat with him. I'll never forget it. I can see the table we were sitting at. It was impactful. It was magical. I was fully present. I could look in my dad's eyes and just give him love. It was wonderful. I took him to the flea market one time. He's like, I don't want to go. I go, you're fucking going. I don't want to go. You're going. This is my magical moment, not yours. We're going. So, and by the way, gang, Tony taught me this. When 2 people meet, the person that is in the stronger state prevails. The person that is more committed to the result wins. So I said, Dad, we're going. So we go to the flea market. We're walking around. We had the best time of our lives. Looking at people's used shit. There were 2 motorcycle helmets from the 60s. They were open face. They weren't very safe, but they had that metallic flake on it. And there was a sticker on them for $1 each. And I said, well, you take $1 for 2. And the lady said, yep. So I put one on. My buddy who came with me put one on. And my dad was crying so hard, he literally pissed his pants. I'll never forget it. So please, if you won't do it for yourself, do it for John, do it for me, do it for your families. It'll change your life.